So he put a lot into the town, and his wife Mary Lester put a lot of effort into the performing arts. So when they decided to change the name from the Performing Arts Centre, they wanted to name it the Lester Centre. But Peter Lester had a rule that nothing in his lifetime was to be named after him. So when they said to him, we want to rename it the Lester Centre, he said, nope, I've got a rule. So they said, no problem, Peter, we're naming it after your wife. We're naming it after Mary, so it'll be the Lester Centre. And so they got it right, but then Peter Lester and Peter Lester Style, he passed away 2 weeks before the unveiling. So nothing was named after him. And then McDonald's is 24 hours. McDonald's in Canada serves poutine. So you can actually get fries with the cheese curds and gravy at McDonald's. Very, very popular. We can get everything we need in Prince Rupert, but nothing big. And then Prince Rupert the city is over 100 years old, so there's a lot of renovations going on. A lot of the roads are being dug up and new pipes are being put in. We do drink bottled water. There is often a boiled water notice. So on our way across, you will see a lot of road works, but it's basically making Prince Rupert beautiful one pothole at a time. There's a lot of development. But while we're going across, we're going to go across through the residential area. And we mentioned bears. There's no grizzly bears in Prince Rupert, but we do get the occasional black bear that might be on the outskirts of town. And we now get a commodity bear, or the spirit bear, and that's a pure white black bear. So it's genetically a black bear, but it's 100% pure white fur. Not albino or anything, because it doesn't have red eyes, but you can get like a mom black bear, and then a pure white cub and a pure black cub. And the local people refer to it as the spirit bear because they see it as a relic from the Ice Age. But the grizzly bears, you'd have to do a 7-hour boat tour to the Kitsimati, which is a grizzly bear sanctuary, so it is very remote. The bears are all wild, and there's not a lot of traffic through there. So there's only like 4 boats, I think, that have permits, so you don't have like congestion or anything. You also have to get to the Kitsimati at low tide, because the bears come down and dig for spruce grass and clams. So if you get there at high tide, you don't see bears. And it's also very seasonal. So it's been now as they came out of hibernation, and then they move off into the forest. So it stops at the end of July. Yeah.
So if you go to the bear sanctuary, you'll see most of the bears there with the grizzly bears?
Yes. The grizzly bears in the bear sanctuary, yes. The fishing is and has always been very important to Prince Rupert. So we've got 5 different species of salmon. We've got link cod and we've got halibut. And like I was saying, we were at one point the halibut capital of the world, because a halibut can actually reach 800 pounds. So we've exported millions of tons of halibut. And we get Dungeness crabs. So these big red crabs can be as big as your head. And if you threw a crab trap out in a couple of hours, you would have Dungeness crab. The Hooligan Run is in February, March every year. And that's down the Schooner River. It ties in with the Nishka band, which is one of the local people. And the hooligans come out, the Nishka people call them the survival fish or the candle fish, because they're the first food after winter, so the survival fish, or the candle fish because they're very oily. But on that hooligan run in February, March, the river's just a boil, because there's sea lions, seals, and all the birds following the hooligan.
What animal do you have the most?
In town, the black-tailed deer. We have a lot of black-tailed deer, and we have a lot of eagles at the moment, a lot of bald eagles. And there's 4 animals, the 4 crests of the houses that you can't hunt. It's the eagle, the killer whale, the wolf, and the raven. And those have always been off limits for hunting.
Average price for
houses. Okay, so the cheapest house would be about 400,000 Canadian, and the most expensive house in Prince Rupert is 1.3 million. The 1.3 million Canadian would be like a huge big house on the waterfront in the affluent area down by the ports. In World War II, there was a big influx of military personnel. So the population went, well, it tripled. It went from 7,000 to 21,000 people. And we had to build houses to house the military personnel, the services that built up the population increase. So we built 552 wartime houses. And those wartime houses were just very, very simple houses, just a block of 4 rooms, let's say, a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room, or 6 rooms, which would be more bedrooms. And of those 552 houses, 400 are still standing. So that would be your more entry level into real estate. And most people who live in Prince Rupert have at some point lived in a wartime house. So a lot of those houses also have had extensions or porches or basements built onto them. And I'll show you some of them as soon as we get to them. So they're just plain wooden houses. They took down a lot of trees from within the city limits, but left all the old growth trees on the outside.
That's an old house.
Which is an old house, yeah?
Fire must have got it. Yeah, it looks like a fire.
So these coming up now, like that's a wartime house, the little white one on the left. And then as we go across, there'll be some more wartime houses. And then after the war, the Canadian government wasn't really interested in getting involved in real estate or that business. So he sold all of these wartime houses on the left, you can see them. All those were sold off for $100 a room. So you could buy a house for $400 or $600. And 400 of them are still standing. So they did a good job of putting them up. And then on the right, we've got Conrad, which is another one of the elementary schools. So there are 5 elementary schools across the town. And the catchment area is just whichever one you live closest to. But there are some outlying villages, like across on the mainland. There's Metlakatla, there's Lachulams. So a lot of the bands of local indigenous people, and those children will actually catch a water taxi across to town and then take a bus to get to school. And these are all war houses that we're going past now. So it would have just been on those pillars, the block house, but now the basement has been filled in, or the porch has been put on, or there's an extension on the extension. Everything's been developed. But these are all the wartime houses from 1942.
If it's very cold winter, why is the houses all bigger or wood at least?
With wood.
Not bricks.
Probably just it was what was available, because we've got all the trees. So it was just what was available at the time. And it was put up very affordably. All the homes have heating. You've either got gas heating or electrical heating. So all the homes do have heating, and then you just pay a hydro bill. And we don't get to that minus 40 degrees like Calgary does. The coldest I've had here is about minus 12, and not as much snow as everywhere else. No, we're very spoiled. On this corner, all 4 of these houses on this corner are war houses. And there's actually a river that runs underneath it, so it would have just been on 4 pillars. We're coming up now, we're coming into our next photo stop, which will be at Seal Cove, which is the old seaplane base. There's the Coast Guard and a helicopter base there. But there's a really fun story about in 1924, the Americans were trying to circumnavigate the world. And they wanted to do it in aircraft. But remember, in 1924, it was fixed wing, open cockpit aircraft. So there were 4 aircraft that came in and landed on the body of water at Seal Cove. And they were welcomed by a brass band and the mayor. And the mayor said to them, This is the worst weather we've had in 10 years. There was sleet, there was hail, they flew into a northerly wind. But remember, they were fixed wing and open cockpits. And